Welcome to our program, The Effective Manager. My name is CPA Dr. David Muturi, and our conversation today is going to be around the leader's deliverable to the followers. Now, when you take position of leadership, it is not unlikely for some of us to forget that the expectations have actually risen, and the people that you are entrusted with to lead are looking up to us for leadership. And therefore, there are some deliverables, there are some expectations that they have from us as the leaders so that they can be able to deliver the objective that they have been entrusted with. Now, exploring some of the deliverables or some of the expectations of our followers, one of them is that you must, and they expect you to act courageously at all times. They look up to you as a leader to take a firm position in circumstances and in situations so that they can be able to know that you're able to take a position. Number two, they expect you to act ethically. They look up to you, the eyes are on you, and they expect that in all circumstances you'll be able to demonstrate the highest ethical standards possible. And therefore, the followers will expect that whatever the leader demonstrates in as far as the ethical standards are concerned, that is what they are most likely to also follow. The followers also expect their leader to be a person of a high personal vision. You must, as a leader, demonstrate a vision of where you are headed to as a person. Not only the organization, and here I'm not talking about necessarily the organizational vision, which is important and which you must always continuously talk about, but the followers also expect a vision of you as a leader. Where do you see yourself into the future? Where do you see yourself together with the people that you're leading? And it is important to remember that even if it is in employment, the people who are working with you work for you first as a leader, and therefore they get encouraged, they get motivated when they are working with a person who is demonstrating a positive and enviable personal vision. The next expectation that you'll have from the followers is vitality. They expect their leader to be a person of vitality, a person of energy, a person who is driven, a person who is not lazy. They look up to you to demonstrate the willingness and the energy to do the work that you have been entrusted with. So it is not unlikely to see some persons who get into positions of leadership and they think that it is a time to take a back seat and let the other people do the downhill work. In fact, that is one of the greatest demotivators that you'll have amongst your team members if they get the feeling that you want to stay away from the hard work so that they can do the donkey work as you sit back. In fact, the energy levels, the drive levels of every team is usually a reflection of the team leader. The kind of energy, the kind of vitality that they demonstrate to their followers is what you'll find will drive the entire team. The other deliverable or the other expectation that the followers will have of their leader is a person who is capable of exploring differences. Oftentimes, you'll find that there are some people, when they take a position of leadership, they find it very difficult to entertain a view contrary to what they think, forgetting that the fact that every time you get an opportunity of a person who is taking a view that is different from yours is an opportunity to learn. Every time somebody disagrees with you, every time a person gives a contrary view, that in fact should be taken as an opportunity to learn. And therefore, as a leader, your followers expect you to be able to take up the differences, to be able to take up different views, to be able to see divergent views even amongst the team members, not as a personal disagreement, but as an opportunity to explore the various ways of doing things. The other expectation is exhibiting self-awareness. Your followers expect you as a leader to be aware about yourself. They expect you to be aware about your weaknesses. They expect you to be aware about your strengths, so that together you can be able to leverage on the strength, and together you can be able to mitigate whatever weaknesses that you have. So it is not a time when you take up a position of leadership to believe that you're perfect, and therefore you're not subject to any form of criticism, or any other decision that you make or any action that you take is always perfect. When you demonstrate self-awareness, you demonstrate the fact that you're not perfect. You demonstrate the fact that you're able to take in criticism, positive criticism. You demonstrate that you're able also to appreciate that other people are also not perfect, and therefore you're able to help them to mitigate their weaknesses and also cultivate on their strength. The other expectation that the followers will have from the leader is a leader who demonstrates empathy. A leader who is able to put him or herself in the position of the other person and demonstrate willingness also to put themselves in the other person's shoes. That way, the followers will feel understood under whatever circumstances that might be prevailing. And that empathizing, that ability to be able to put oneself in another person's shoes is one of the other great motivators that you can have as a leader. The other expectation, the other deliverable that would be expected from a leader is communicating effectively. The followers expect their leader to communicate to them his or her vision. They expect their leader to communicate to them the direction. They expect effective communication. And therefore, as a leader, when you sit in that position of leadership, you need to continuously work on your communication skills, so that every time you engage with your followers, you are certain that whatever communication that you have in mind is being passed on through effectively. The other expectation that the followers will have from the leaders is following as in leading. Now, what do I mean? They expect you as a leader to follow in the same manner that you lead, to lead in the same manner that you follow, to lead in the same way that you'd expect to be led. Now, giving an example, when you sit in a position of leadership and say there is a greater leadership line above yourself, you do not go to that level of leadership for discussions, for conversations. And when you come back to the people that you're leading, you start telling them it has been decided, or they were saying. In fact, what would happen is that in your absence, they'll also start talking about the third person, as a third person. The best way is to provide loyalty and to demonstrate loyalty to your leaders in the same way that you would expect your followers to demonstrate loyalty to yourself. The other expectation is managing group dynamics and conflict. Now, when you talk about group dynamics, or what some people may call office politics or organizational politics, you must show a willingness and demonstrate the ability to be able to manage the group dynamics. Quite a number of people say that they would want to avoid office politics or organizational politics. But the truth of the matter is that politics is about interest. It's about individual interest. It's about group interest. And wherever you have one or two or three people together, there'll always be some politics, some dynamics to be managed. And some of them may be complicated, some of them may be very simple, some of them would lead to conflict, some of them might even lead to camps. As a leader, it is expected of you by your followers that you'll be able to effectively manage those dynamics. So in case of a conflict, they expect you to resolve the conflict immediately before it simmers into something greater. They expect you to give directions and to take positions in certain issues so that you are able to dissolve issues that would otherwise get into a bigger conflict. The other expectation is that the followers expect to be motivated by their leaders. Now, motivation here oftentimes is misunderstood, because some people misunderstand motivation to be only the benefits and the monetary rewards that everybody receives. But the truth of the matter is that motivation will start by the way that you speak to your people. It will start with the way that you interact with the people that you're leading. It will start with the way that you treat those people. And that's why you'll find, when you talk about motivation, to give a very basic example, there are some people who will be avoided because of the way that they speak to others. A leader, an office manager, is avoided by colleagues or by counterparts or even by the juniors because of the way that they speak to them, disrespectfully speaking to them as if they are raw beings. But you'll find that there are other managers who will attract colleagues, peers, and even people below them because of the way they speak to them, because of the way that they treat them. That in itself is motivation or demotivation, depending on the two circumstances that I have stated. So a leader is expected to be able to motivate his or her people through those other non-monetary rewards, the way you speak, the way you treat, even the body language. The other expectation that the followers will have from the leaders will be a leader who acts with emotional intelligence, a socially intelligent leader who is able to perceive issues and matters and deal with them in a way that is acceptable and suitable to all the persons who are involved. A person who is able to understand the interpersonal relationship, a person who is able to understand those hidden issues, and most importantly, somebody who is in charge of themselves. Now, when you're emotional intelligence, you are in charge of yourself. You are able to gauge how you feel. You're able to gauge how you interact with other person based on how they feel and how you feel. And therefore, the followers will feel comfortable that you're not erratic in the way that you behave from time to time. The other expectation that you'll have as the followers will have from the leader is that they would expect a leader who is able to think critically. Now, as a leader, when you sit in that position, the followers expect somebody who is able to look and think through things, examining from all angles the implications of whatever decisions that they may want to make. They expect somebody who is able to reevaluate and evaluate time and again the implications of the conversations or the decision or the direction that the organization is headed to. So in leadership, you're expected to provide conceptual skills, conceptual direction in as far as the issue at hand is concerned. The other expectation that the followers will have from the reader is a reader who is able to frame issues, to ask good questions, to ask appropriate questions. Now, what do I mean by appropriate questions? Now, when you sit in a position of leadership, it serves well to remind yourself that that does not make you the most brilliant person amongst the group. Yes, you're expected to think critically, but that does not make you the monopoly of wisdom. But you, as a leader, do well if you are able to ask appropriate questions. Questions that stimulate thinking amongst the followers. Questions that will bring in alternative views apart from the ones that might be at hand at a particular time. You're able to question even what may seem to be most obvious. You're able to question even what may have worked for so many years. You're able to question and see whether it is still relevant and it still can be able to work. What you'll find is that when you're good in asking appropriate question, you create a stimulating environment. A stimulating environment where everyone continuously questions the status quo, continuously questions the processes, not necessarily not inhibiting the workings, but questioning to see whether this is the most effective or this is the best that can be done under the circumstances. As a leader, you'll also expected to provide reflections. Now, reflections looking back and examining the past on the basis of what has worked, what has not worked, what are the challenges that we have had, and what is it that you're likely to encounter into the future. In fact, it is out of these reflections that you can be able to derive some of the most powerful mind-changing tools that you can have as a leader. One of them being storytelling. It is out of the reflections that you'll be able to create good and positive stories and narratives about the organization, about the past that can be able then to build onto the future. So when you reflect, or when you're a good leader, the followers expect you to provide positive and working reflections about the past, about the current, and about the future. The other expectation that the followers will have of their leader is measuring progress. Followers expect their leader to provide direction in as far as the measurement of the progress is concerned. The followers want to hear, where are we right now? Where were we previously and where are we right now? And are we moving forward or are we moving backward? Measuring progress and communicating the same to the followers is another great source of motivator, because when you're making progress, then it is encouraging, and therefore everybody feels driven to work even harder. When you're not making progress and it's reported as such, it is also a motivation, depending on how it is delivered, to show that you're not making progress, and therefore we need to pull up our socks so that we can be able to push the progress to the direction that we want. So the leaders, the followers, expect that their leader is going to be able to measure and report the progress. The other expectation that the followers will have of the leader is a clear definition of the direction. Where are we headed to? Now, it is very frustrating if we are to work with a leader who is not clear in the direction that they want to take. A very clear and specific direction that is effectively communicated to everyone, so that each person can be able to say, this is the direction that we are headed to, this is what we want to achieve, and this is what we are working towards. The other expectation that the followers will have of their leader is a mapping of the environment. Now, mapping of the environment here is what kind of environment are we working in? What are the issues that we have in the environment? And these here can be micro and macro environment. Now, a micro environment, even if you are leading a department or a section, it is important, or it is expected by your followers you map for them the environment. What are the issues in the circumstances that they're working in. What are the expectations? That is, what are the expectations? What are the likely drawbacks? A general mapping of the what is working for us, what is likely to work for us, what is likely to work against us. The followers expect you as a leader to have a clear understanding of that environment. What is likely to work against us, what is working for us, and what is it that we can be able to do so that we can be able to mitigate against whatever it is not working for us. The other expectation that the followers will have of the leader is the use of effective processes. Processes that you follow every day. Processes that you have put into place to enable the working. It is very frustrating when the processes in themselves are frustrating to the work that you are to do. So as a leader, you are expected to continuously reevaluate the processes that you are using to do the work. And that's why you'll find progressive organizations will usually have a process improvement approaches or process improvement teachings every so often. There are many, the Lean Six Sigma, there is the Kaizen, and all those as part of the tools that are used for the purposes of evaluating the effectiveness of the processes. So as a leader, you are expected to continuously be on the lookout on the effectiveness of the process, to listen to the people who are on the ground to give you the feedback in as far as the effectiveness of the processes is concerned. The other expectation that the followers will have of the leader is cultivating innovation. Now, in this day and time, the environment is continuously changing. The way of doing things is continuously changing. One of the most frustrating things that you can have as a follower is a leader who does not cultivate or does not want to hear a different way of doing things. Whereas the truth of the matter is that in other organizations, in other places, they'll be continuously involved in finding out ways and means of doing things differently. And also, particularly now with information technology, which provides exciting ways, different ways of doing things, it will be foolhardy for a leader not to cultivate and encourage innovation and listen to the people that he or she is leading in ways and means that they can be able to innovate and create new ways of doing things. And finally, a leader would be expected to address issues. Address issues whether outside, within, so long as they affect the people that he or she is leading. Often not, you may find leaders who want to run away from issues, wishing issues away, which will not go away. Now, followers will expect that you'll take the bulls by the horns and address whatever the issues, regardless of how difficult they might be. And you find that here, some of the leaders may want to take too long before they make a decision or before they make a decision on an issue, forgetting that it is better a decision that is made, a bad decision that is made in good time, rather than a good decision that is overtaken by events. Because when you make a decision, then there is in time, then there is an opportunity to make adjustment as appropriate. But when you delay too much, then you find that the decision may have been overtaken by events, and therefore it becomes irrelevant. So what are we saying today? We are saying, as a leader, when you take up that position of leadership, there will be expectations from the people that you're leading. And the expectations will be high. And the expectations will be what will enable you as a leader and your team to achieve the objectives or not to achieve the objectives. Thank you very much for joining us for The Effective Manager. We look forward to you joining us the next episode. Thank you very much.